So, one thing that's very unique about Filipino martial arts is that from the very minute you enter a class, the first thing you start learning is the weapon right off. Because the feeling is once you understand the weapon, you understand everything else about defense. Because everything else is really just mimicking the weapon. Any kind of weapon, once you understand the philosophy of using a weapon, then you can use anything. Mainly blades, can be sticks. For practice, we use sticks because it's a lot safer. Just want to review it. There's hundreds of them. There are different kinds of weapons. Everybody's probably seen a weapon like this. Know what this is? Kukri. This is a kukri blade made famous in the World Wars by the Gurkha troops, like in Nepal. This thing here is there's nothing to cut an arm off with it. Notice the thickness of it and the weight is very heavy. And today they're becoming very famous as utility knives. You can do anything with these things. Notice the butt. You can use it as a hammer. You can use it as a hatchet. They're amazing knives. 7-arm like nothing with these knives. This, of course, is a crease. From Indonesia, a lot of the Muslims use this, of course. And this is a very, very nasty weapon. Ever seen that? These are the typical weapons from the Philippines. These are called bolos. Now, you notice this blade here. It doesn't look very finished. This is probably the remains of some blown up a wrecked tank in World War II. Because that's what the Filipinos did. They would take any piece of scrap metal they could, and they would make knives out of them. Okay? And of course, when they're rusty, the better. Because we know what happens when you cut people with rusted, nasty old knives. You poison them because they're very, very nasty people. Here's one that's a little bit nicer. This was made out of more of a stainless steel. And this is like a stag, has a stag hoof type hilt design on it. This one here is one of our own designs in the United States. Anybody know what this is? This is one of the most famous knives in World War I. This is a World War I trench knife. This is a devastating weapon. Notice that it has brass knuckles built right into it. And because it's a dagger, this knife was made for one thing, for fighting and killing. Double-edged, very sharp. Strike with it. Notice the butt. This is a very, very nasty kind of thing. And they designed this for the trench warfare in like World War I. The favorite knife, of course, of the Filipinos are daggers, because that way you can cut with both sides, and we'll demonstrate why that's so important, to be able to cut with both sides of the weapon. Okay? And then, of course, the other weapon that everybody knows about is called, and created in the Philippines, ingenious invention, is what? Bally songs. These things here, most people have misconceptions about the use of these things. You know, they see people swirling them and flipping them and stuff like that. They think it's pretty. Many functions to that. First of all, it's similar to what happens in a lot of the Kung Fu systems. If you notice, a lot of Kung Fu weapons, especially broadswords and spears, they have tassels and feathers on them and stuff like that. The reason for that, why would you think they have that on it? Not just to be pretty. Another thing, this art is totally unstructured. It's a flow system. We don't teach technique. We don't teach technique, and this is our belief. When you teach technique against a particular attack or offensive maneuver, you get hung up on it. The guy does this, I do that. We don't do it that way. You learn to flow with the opponent, and whatever comes to your mind once you understand basic principles of defense and offense, you just apply them. And this is the way you're going to see seminar. I never practice for seminar or a seminar too, but our demo is kind of like we just do it and things just happen. Okay? I'm going to talk a little bit about knife philosophy too in defense. Today in this country, knives are very popular. Everybody wants to do knife fighting. I don't want to do knife fighting. And I teach a blade system. I teach a knife fighting system. Last thing I want to do is fight with a knife. They are too dangerous. Dangerous, dangerous, one of the most dangerous weapons you can use is a knife. Okay? And I'm going to demonstrate why they're so dangerous. some of the, I studied and I used to teach karate, many of the other systems. And some of the ideas in terms of defense, when you look at people who spent their lives dealing and practicing with weapons, don't work too well. And I think it's very good that people understand why, why you don't want to deal with knives. There's I don't know, maybe some of you have seen it, I know a lot of you haven't. There was a tape that was done, a lot of law enforcement people use it. It's called Surviving Edge Weapons. And in that tape, it brings home the seriousness of bladed weapons. They did to research over and over again that a police officer with a gun in holster, the safe distance from an opponent with a knife is 21 feet. Got your weapon in a holster, the person with a knife will get to you and cut you to death before you can draw your weapon and kill him or disable him if you are less than 21 feet away. Not to mention if the person is adept at throwing the weapon, which is a totally different aspect of it. A lot of these guys are excellent at throwing. But it's just the whole thing of the versatility of the knife. Remember, you can use the knife this way, this is conventional, and this one I don't like to use that way. This is because I can't manipulate it because of the brass knuckle. But you can use it this way, which is called ice pick or conventional. So many ways to manipulate the weapon. All right? Everything is taken from the weapon. One of the things that we like, one philosophy in Arnis that's a little bit different than most other systems. The thing is this. We specialize in what we call destroying the fang. The person has hands and feet. And our thinking is this. If your hands don't work and your feet don't work, you don't fight too well. The whole thrust is to destroy it. And then we take care of everything else later on. So we love when people try to punch at us, to grab at us, things like that, because you give it to us. You play right into our hands. We just simply bust everything up. Bust hands up, bust arms up, bust legs up, we don't care. Kind of like a meat grinder effect. Give it to us and we'll just grind it off, or cut it off. That's kind of the approach. And we can do that with sticks. Obviously, you can see that we can do that with blades, but we can do that with empty hands because we've adapted those ideas from sticks or knives to empty hands. And we can just totally bust them. We call it limb destruction. So a lot of times you see, posted on martial arts seminars, when they talk about limb destruction, that's what they're talking about. How to destroy the fang, like a rattlesnake. Take a rattlesnake, take the fangs out, nice to catch them over. Right? Same thing here. So I'm just wanting to level set a little bit so you get a feel for what this art's about. Like I said, totally unstructured, no structure. The big thing is to learn to move. The secret of this system is movement. You got to learn to be able to move with the opponent. It's also sensitivity. Similar in many cases to a Kung Fu system that we know as Wing Chun. Sensitivity. Feel the opponent, you can deal with it, especially if you're close. Now, the whole idea of, which you've heard a lot about recently, of course, there are various ranges of defense. Of course, there's that kicking range or long range, we call it largo mano, or medial, which is the medium range, and quarter cup. Of course, the knife, fighting, and a lot of the empty hand is close. It's close range. We love it in close. Another thing about it, and of course Gene will be doing some of that later, so I'm not going to talk about that. That's the specialist on jujitsu and grappling. Okay? But the art lends itself so well for grappling because it's a flow system. It's about the entries and openings and the opportunities to get to the grappling level. Okay, and we'll show you how that is set up a lot. So this blends very, very well with if you're doing a purely grappling system. It blends so well with a grappling system because of the way it's set up. Okay. One of the things that we do, everything kind of complements each other. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is just to level set, what's going to happen is I'm going to let the students do a lot of the demoing, but I'm going to level set by talking about some of the things. Borrow one of those knives. I guess we get here. Okay. Now who was that? You want to help me? No. So and we'll do this slow so you can see it. Remember, we feel this way too about, if you're talking about punching type defenses. No one in the street, girl sells when anybody try to punch you in a classical fashion. Now notice I said classical fashion, the classical Eastern fashion. Most people don't do that in the street. They'll run haymakers at you, they might try to box, that kind of thing. So this is what we try to deal with, you know, rapid fire type punching. But just to demonstrate it, I'm going to do slow motion. So say, regular what? Jab cross, boxes, jab cross. So say he throws the cross, and I go, boom, with the knife. What I do is I just cut him here, right, and jab him, right? That was from what? From the conventional position. From this position, I can do what? Notice, remember I talked about the fact that this is a what? Normally we like to use the double-sided. So notice if the guy comes in and I cut him here, what did I just do there? I just filleted the arm, cut him here, and what? And
Oh, okay.
go it slow so you can see the cuts. Cut here, fillet here, cut here. Notice that's another what? Cut and cut here with the jab. Just basic knife fighting maneuvering, including throwing. So you can see this kind of thing. I guess it's a double type defense. Say he throws the jab, boom. Notice this cut here, he comes across, boom. I can stab him in the kidney, or I can come back, whatever I want. As far as using the basic technique that I talked about, a basic philosophy. I'm just giving basic level setting ideas, all I'm doing, so you can start to see how it works. This is basic knife ideas, okay? Knife disarming. Now, I'm going to talk about this later, because this is something you really don't want to get into, because normally the guy's not going to do this, especially if you understand Southeast Asian arts. People are not going to come at you that way, or do this to you. You don't even, you don't even know where the knife is going to come from. It's too hard to deal with the knife. The knife moves all over the place. Typically, in a lot of systems, say for instance, I throw, say maybe I'm going to cut the guy this way. And say, since I studied karate, say you do an outside block against it. You know, like you do this guy here, one of my students did taekwondo, tansu, black belt taekwondo. The problem is this. Say he tries to block this with his outside block, boom! Guess what? I don't even care about it. I just feel his energy. He blocks, and now he's what? Cut. He comes back this way, he blocks, and what? I just cut his arm. Notice what happens. He blocks it, and I snake around and cut his arm. Just basic ideas. Again, block it, and what? Notice what happens. Double-edged weapon here. What just happened to his arm? Fillet. Not only to mention that, what? Here and there's a cut to the neck. It's fillet here and cut here. 3 cuts. The knife is constantly flowing. So one of the reasons you don't want to get into the whole idea of trying to do static type blocking against knives. We do it because this is the system we do. And my recommendation against knife is to do one thing. Run. Absolutely. You don't want to confront these things. They're too deadly. I'm just trying to discuss some basic ideas here, so you see it. Okay? Same kind of idea. I guess, and this is how we develop our instruction. Somebody say throws across. That's why I block it, just cut. Or I can block it and what? Cut. Parry it down and cut. Cut. Wherever I want. Kneeing, cutting, whatever I want to do, I can do something. Put the knife down, and how can I treat it the same way? Say the guy comes with the cross, yeah, pow! This is destruction here, pow! Boom! Boom! Pow! Same motion, nothing changed. It's from the knife. Here is the cut. I did some instruction here. Break his arm, elbow here. This was the stab I did. With the knife here, this is the stab. Now from here, this could be choking. Now, this is a technique. This could be choking if you can get to the what? To the Adam's apple, this area in here. This is more of a neck breaking kind of idea. The quick takeout kind of things I learned when I was in the Marine Corps. We did a lot of those. Because in the Marine Corps, the whole idea is if you're sentries or you're on point, you want to be able to take the guy out instantly without him doing what? Without him making noise. So that was just notice on this kind of thing here. This is not a choke. This is a leverage thing. Head here, tucked in. Mind. Notice my arm is along the side here, so what I do is I crank it. Not too hard, I don't break the neck, right? And you just break the neck on it. So it's a pull up crank and crank. So it's easy to break the neck on something like this. Very, very So we do a lot of these kind of things, but you can see out of this, if you're doing the kind of thing where you're going into grappling, where you want to do chokes, it's there. You can do whatever you want in terms of how you're going to take the person down and do your jiu-jitsu type grappling. It's all about the entries and how you get there. All right. The concept, use your stick then. We're just talking, and the students are going to do a lot of this later on. The first thing, when we talk about philosophy of defense, if a person has a weapon, what do you think the philosophy would be? Person has a weapon, what would be the first thing you want to do? Run. Run. No, you got to engage, and this time you can't run. Okay? Don't have a weapon. What is the first thing I want to do? If I got to engage this guy,
take his weapon.
I want to get that weapon away from this guy. That's the first thing I want to do, is get the weapon away from the guy. So, say he strikes me on this side here. Boom, I can do this, I can lock him. Notice, a lot of these locking ideas come, grappling ideas come from Filipino martial. Notice what happens. I lock it, I come in, I lock. I can lock him. Is this thing familiar? These kind of things here. Notice, not only that, I'm there to strike this. Right? But it came from a simple block with a stick. One more time. To block it, to bring it over, to lock him, and what? To strike him, I can knee him. All of that is there. Okay? Another approach, this is called, from here I can come back and notice, one of the reasons why it's important that we use what? Two weapons. One weapon, two weapons, either hand. Because a lot of times we're going to end up with the opponent's weapon. Just like I just did. Another thing that we do that's important, so many aspects of this, we use the weapon, not only do we use the opponent's weapon to strike him, we do what we call ejection an awful lot. And when we do this, I'm going to try, normally for demo, we do it so we want to make it spectacular. So the guy does this, so I do this, and what? And I eject the weapon. But in the real case, that's just for show. In the real case, if I did that and what? I eject the weapon here, I want to eject the weapon into the opponent. So we do that an awful lot. Block and eject the weapon into the opponent. In cases I would eject it down against the shin, into the groin, or something like that. Okay. More time. From here, I can do the same thing. I can add strikes to it. Say I block, I can strike the guy, and what? Still to death, and what? Throw the guy with the weapon. One more time, we show that. Blocking, striking, and what? Ejecting, throwing, striking. If it's a knife, guess what? I just what? I just cut it. Okay. Now notice what I just did. Remember, there are counters for all of this stuff. Now, if you're fighting against an opponent that knows this stuff, you can't. I did this, but the opponent that knows this, because he's sensitivity oriented, he's going to counter this right away. You know, see? So he does this kind of thing right away, and he comes back. So say he does this right away, and he comes back with a strike. So what you do on this kind of thing is just what? Just keep the flow going. That's what you do. Just to show you some of these, giving you basics again, use blind. Against the grab, you can take it. Against the grab, you can lock. Against the grab, you can throw. All of these come from just the opponent trying to grab your weapon. It doesn't matter. So what if you grab with both hands? It doesn't matter if you grab with both hands. Boom, notice I punched him, and what? Throw. And notice I still got the weapon. I can stomp on him. We don't care what we do to the guy. Okay? If the guy grabs with two hands, again, notice what happens. This is somebody in jiu-jitsu, and we're talking about, in this case, A lot of times I talk about jiu-jitsu now. I want to make this point clear, and I'm going to make sure Dean will do that. Traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu versus Gracie jiu-jitsu. It's something that we call, in traditional Japanese, FMA. It's basic FMA. And I'm showing you this to show you that this is translated for us from sticks. Notice here, same idea. Same thing. Typical backward throw from what? Jiu-jitsu, translated from sticks. Guy tries to, sticks are blades. Guy tries to strike me, and guess what? There's the throw. Translated from there. Same kind of an idea. All right. Giving you level setting. That's all we're trying to do. Any questions so far?